Hello, I'm Grayson Ottaway. Welcome to another marvelous video. We're back to explore another iconic character from the world of Mortal Kombat, and today's character is Kenshi Takahashi. Since making his debut in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, released in 2002, Kenshi Takahashi has become one of the series' most well-known characters and has appeared in most of the series' many fighting games. He is a blind swordsman with the capacity to demonstrate the power of mind over matter. He is Takeda Takahashi's father and a vital ally of the Special Forces. So let's not waste any more time and let's dive into this fascinating character's story arcs and discover why he's regarded as such an icon. But before we do, a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to this channel. Really easy, small click for you, but for us means a great deal. Thank you so much. Let's go. Exploring the origins of Kenshi. Kenshi is a renegade Eurasian swordsman with psychokinetic abilities who harbors deep hate for the wicked sorcerer Shang Tsung, whose deception has resulted in Kenshi's condition. Since his debut in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance in 2002, he has consistently featured in the series' storyline by freeing Emak from the control of Outworld Emperor Shao Kahn, joining the Special Forces alongside Jax and Sonya Blade, and attempting to bring down Mavado and his Red Dragon faction, as well as associating with the likes of Sub-Zero and Johnny Cage. Kenshi Takahashi, a natural warrior, roamed Earthrealm in quest of suitable combat. He'd seek out opponents and defeat them just to enhance his ego. One day, Kenshi met a man named Song, who persuaded him that a great warrior required a great sword. Song then brought Kenshi to the site of an old, formidable sword that Song believed would befit Kenshi's abilities. As Kenshi unlocked the well where the sword was said to be, he was overcome by trapped spirits and forever blinded. Song revealed himself to be Shang Tsung and proceeded to absorb the souls that had been liberated, leaving Kenshi to expire within the tomb. The sword, which did exist, drew Kenshi in and talked to him, bringing him out of the grave and disclosing its origin. Kenshi descended from a long line of legendary swordsmen, and the well where the blade rested was also the hallowed resting place of Kenshi's forebears' souls which Shang Tsung abducted. Kenshi spent the next decade or so retraining his senses and hunting down his betrayer and defiler of his ancestors. Kenshi's exceptional powers soon drew the notice of Jax and Sonya, who were searching for individuals with unique abilities to join their side and journey into Outworld. Kenshi pounced at the chance to track down the guy who had misled him. After passing many tests and trials, he was approved to join the Outer World Investigation Agency. His opportunity to exact his vengeance came when he was tasked to find the missing Cyrax, who was also a member of the Special Forces. In his adventures around Outworld, Kenshi met the intriguing Ermac and shattered Shao Kahn's mental control over him in a moment of weakness. In return, Ermac reawakened Kenshi's dormant telekinetic ability, teaching him how to utilize it efficiently in a fight and how to sense the presence of people and objects around him. Kenshi quickly learned about the Deadly Alliance and its objectives, but he could not reach the OWIA, or the Outer World Investigation Agency, which had been bombed by Su Hao. The Deadly Alliance knew of Kenshi's presence and dispatched Mavado to assassinate him. Mavado approached Kenshi, defeated him, and abandoned him to die. Sub-Zero found the dying Kenshi in Mortal Kombat Deception and nursed him back to health. Because of Sub-Zero's pity and generosity, Kenshi formed a temporary alliance with him to discover a portal that would transport them back home. Yet, this short alliance quickly turned into a long-lasting relationship. Kenshi saw the spirits of his ancestors returning to his sword after Shang Tsung's death upon the Dragon King Onaga's return, signifying the conclusion of his quest for revenge. Kenshi then returned to Earthrealm, where he would hunt out the corrupt using his ancestral sword. Kenshi was able to topple multiple criminal groups by attacking exclusively at night and utilizing the darkness as a cover to strike unnoticed. Kenshi is one of the only 17 characters in Mortal Kombat Armageddon to have an official biography, in which he departs the Special Forces and declines Sub-Zero's invitation to join the Lin Kuei. He ultimately intercepts a coded transmission intended for Mavado and discovers the Red Dragon's plans to kidnap the Edenian half-god Taven. Kenshi meets Johnny Cage, who is assembling warriors to fight for the forces of light against Shinnok before he can discover the location of their hidden base. On the other hand, Kenshi refuses to get involved, seeing it as another fruitless battle between good and evil. He obtains a psychic premonition while on his journey to destroy the Red Dragon, seek revenge on Movado, and become fully aware of Taven and Dagon's quest to combat the fire elemental Blaze. In the next fight, his sword also pushes him to join the forces of good. Kenshi determines that, heeding his revelation, he will be the one to lead the forces of light into combat. The original plot presented in Deadly Alliance was repeated in the 2011 Mortal Kombat game as Kenshi's origin story. In terms of how he kills Shang Tsung with his sword to wreak retribution, his last appearance in the game is comparable to the ending of Deadly Alliance. In Mortal Kombat X, Kenshi is a task force member that includes Earthrealm survivors Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade. With the help of their mentor Raiden and fellow god Fujin, they fight Shinnok and Quan Chi's army during the Netherrealm War, leading special forces and Shaolin troops, and Kenshi personally defeats Nightwolf. In the years that follow, he learns that his old girlfriend Suchin has an unborn son named Takeda. However, after Red Dragon troops assassinate her, Kenshi puts Takeda in Hanzo Hisashi's care for training and safety while he travels to exact revenge on Suchin's killer. The bond between Takeda and Kenshi is strained as a result, but throughout the main tale, the two make up in a flashback, with Kenshi showing Takeda how to use his telepathic skills. After Jax Briggs captures Quan Chi, Kenshi appears in the Special Forces facility among the other senior Earthrealm heroes. Quan's capture, however, turned out to be a farce because he willingly permitted himself to be taken and hauled behind Earthrealm's defenses. At the same time, Devora betrays both Earthrealm and the Outworld by taking Shinnok's amulet and running into Quan Chi just before his execution. Before Quan completes the magic to liberate Shinnok from the amulet in Earthrealm, Hanzo is unable to slay him. Kenshi attacks Shinnok but is immediately subdued by the blast. After then, his whereabouts are unknown. In Mortal Kombat 11, the most current series installment, Kenshi is not a playable character. However, players may explore the crypt to gain cosmetic items and will ultimately be able to uncover Kenshi's dead body. The player will be able to glimpse souls in the crypt and obtain Kenshi's distinctive red band if they engage with it. Kenshi's blindfold is also useful for detecting structurally weak barriers that can be smashed with Shao Kahn's hammer. Players will need to use it to get out of Kenshi's last stand and explore the remainder of the Mortal Kombat 11 crypt. Kenshi's blindfold will also let you locate another vintage Mortal Kombat character hidden in the Mortal Kombat 11 crypt. Mortal Kombat 11 players that equip the blindfold will be able to locate none other than the reptile hidden in the crypt, even though he, like Kenshi, is not on the roster.
Kenshi wins.
What was Kenshi like? The figure was initially referred to as the Kenshi and was characterized as a spirit hunter in the early concept sketches for Deadly Alliance by character designer Alan Ditzig. Midway gave Kenshi the unofficial moniker Blind GI during the character's creation. This name was then altered to Blind Kenshi until the word blind was omitted entirely, converting Kenshi from a title to a proper name. Kenshi has a black bodysuit with red embellishments in Deadly Alliance. He has a black pauldron on his right shoulder and a dragon-themed ribbon over his chest. His belt has a tiny pouch attached to it. He's got black boots on and crimson knee protectors. A distinctive red bandana covers his eyes. Kenshi swaps off his military gear and crimson blindfold for a traditional karate GI as part of his alternative outfit. His white GI has several rips and gashes. His waist is covered by a black black belt that supports a bag. Kenshi also has no shoes on. Kenshi appears in Armageddon and Deception, sporting armored trousers and a grey rubber vest with kanji on the collar. In addition, he's dressed in crimson pointed boots, large armored gloves, and white knee pads. He is also wearing a red blindfold. His Deadly Alliance main outfit is Kenshi's alternative Deception and Armageddon appearance, but now instead of having a black backside on his pants, it has a crimson one. Kenshi wears an improved version of his previous attire in MK 2011, but with crisper hair and luminous panels on the backs of his hands. He now wears a new coat-like variation of his attire, 25 years after the events of Mortal Kombat 2011 in Mortal Kombat X. Additionally, he has full facial hair that is beginning to grey in some spots. In the series, Kenshi initially intended to take Ermac's place in terms of telekinetic abilities. However, the distinction is that he also incorporates a physical weapon, his sword, into his offensive arsenal. According to GameSpy's Deception Guide, Kenshi's special attacks are comparable to Ermac's, but not as comboable, the ability to utilize combos. However, his sword attack is his most effective assault in the game. He cuts himself across the stomach with the sword, making him the only character in the game to commit harakiri. The site's Armageddon Guide states that Kenshi is a mid-range attacker who performs his special techniques best at that range, since getting any closer renders him susceptible to counterattacks. While comparing his projectile reflect to Nightwolf and Noob Saibot, VentureBeat's Michael Rousseau said that Kenshi's powers in MK 2011 allow him to create a temporary psychic image of himself. He also said that the persona is much more than a sum of his parts, and though he shares resemblance with other cast members, he definitely has his own charm. Mortal Kombat Snowblind has a crucial Kenshi Origins story that fans loved. A 2022 American direct-to-video adult animated martial arts film based on the Mortal Kombat franchise, Mortal Kombat Legends Snowblind, is produced and directed by Rick Morales from a screenplay by Jeremy Adams. It's the third game in the Legends subline and a follow-up to Mortal Kombat Legends Battle of the Realms. The video games and Mythos fans know Kenshi Takahashi as a talented, albeit blind, swordsman with excellent telekinetic and psychokinetic skills, even though he is more of a supporting character in the Mortal Kombat series. Before all of that though, Snowblind introduces a more reckless and youthful version of the character who is anxious to make up for the wrongs that evil Kano had been doing to his community. Let's explain the narrative to understand Kenshi's role in the film better. In the film, Earthrealm has turned into a wasteland decades after Liu Kang defeated Shao Kahn due to several revenant attacks. As the towns and villages continue to be cut off, Kano, who appears to have survived his encounter with Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, and Jax Briggs, proclaims himself king and leads his clan, the Black Dragon, which is made up of Farah, Cobra, Tor, Kira, Jarek, No-Face, Draman, Eron Black, Kabal, Tremor, Duro, and an elderly Shang Tsung in the conquest of towns and villages. Kuai Liang, who gave up the name Sub-Zero, lives a farmer's life in the middle of the wastelands, growing vegetables and selling them to the next city. He's on his way to the city when Kabal, Kira, and Cobra come upon him, beat him up, and steal part of his provisions. They arrive in the city and find a black dragon untouched metropolis. Kenshi lives in the city in search of a more significant challenge. The three members agree to return after Kenshi defeats them but decides to spare their lives. The three fighters return to the Black Dragon's general quarters where they inform King Kano of their defeat. King Kano gives them the command to return with Tremor's help under Shang Tsung's supervision. Kenshi notices Kuai Liang carrying supplies and begs him for instruction after seeing the Lin Kuei mark on him. The Black Dragon members return to the city, and when Kenshi states his name as Kenshi Takahashi, Shang Tsung is intrigued. Kenshi continues to battle Tremor but loses. Shang Tsung issues a directive to Tremor to spare Kenshi before the latter is put to death. Under the guise of Tsung, Shang Tsung informs Kenshi that he can destroy the Black Dragon by using a strong weapon known as Sento. Then, amidst the desert, Shang Tsung entices Kenshi to open the Well of Souls, unleashing energy that powers and rejuvenates him while blinding him. Shang Tsung, who now has a young physique, throws Kenshi into the pit and walks away. At the bottom of the hole, Kenshi hears Sento, the mysterious sword described by Shang Tsung, speaking to him because he can wield it and climb the pit as he walks across the desert. Back at the Black Dragon's general quarters, Shang Tsung assaults Kano, killing several men, including Cobra. Having gained the upper hand on Kano, he attempts to drain his soul, but is unable because Kano no longer has a soul. As a result, Kano humiliates and kills him in the process. Soon, Kuai Liang discovers Kenshi wandering in the desert, just as he is ready to begin his routine, and brings him to his house for treatment. Kuai Liang resolves to train Kenshi by improving his other senses after realizing he has lost all hope of survival. Kuai Liang confesses to Kenshi as the training progresses that he was once the leader of the Lin Kuei and battled the Wave of the Revenants. In a desperate attempt to end the fight, he produced an ice storm, killing everyone save himself, including members of his tribe and civilians. He took a vow never to utilize his powers again out of sorrow. While practicing, the pair notices smoke emanating from the nearby city and watches from a distance as Kano seizes control of the area. Kenshi argues that they must assist, but Kuai Liang disagrees, and they both begin fighting to compel the other's hand. With the upper hand, Kuai Liang gives Kenshi one more chance to resume their regular lives, which he declines and goes to aid the city. Kenshi manages to murder a few members of the Black Dragon, including Jarek, but is overrun by the surviving members and imprisoned. Back at his farm, Kuai Liang burns it down and summons Scorpion as the two proceed to the Black Dragon general quarters. As Kano begins torturing Kenshi, Sub-Zero and Scorpion arrive, rescuing Kenshi and commencing a battle. Kenshi kills Kira. Scorpion murders No-Face, Tor, Farah, and Aaron Black. With most of the Black Dragon members dead, they combat Kano, punching his head out of his body, but he survives and retreats to his secret room. Kenshi remains to fight Tremor, while Sub-Zero pursues Kano, but remains behind to fight Cabal. Kenshi blows up Tremor, and Scorpion burns Cabal to death. When Kano arrives at his hidden chamber, it is shown to contain Kronika's hourglass, as Kano defeats her and absorbs her abilities, establishing an alternate reality in which he has unleashed waves of revenants on the earth, leading it to become a wasteland. Kuai Liang interrupts Kano and confronts him in the chamber before he can use the hourglass to erase Sub-Zero's existence. Kuai Liang and Scorpion smash Kronika's crown after murdering Kano, causing the chamber to self-destruct. Kenshi offers to aid the city and the inhabitants in the wasteland, but Kuai Liang rejects it. Since he told Scorpion that he would take him if he ever used his abilities again, Kuai Liang and Scorpion flee to the Netherrealm, leaving Kenshi as Lin Kuei's heir and defender of Earthrealm. This leads us to believe that he will be the main protagonist in the sequel, if they decide to continue from here. Manny Jacinto voiced Kenshi in the movie. Kenshi's appearance in Mortal Kombat Legacy. Mortal Kombat Legacy is a web series anthology adapted from the fictional universe of Mortal Kombat. Kenshi appears in Mortal Kombat Legacy Season 2 as Down Southworth. Kenshi's past is substantially preserved. However, he no longer had a feud with the sorcerer Shang Tsung and was instead blinded by Ermac when he attempted to claim the Sento sword, which in this version is not a heritage blade of his line. Kenshi was a wandering ronin in ancient Japan when he encountered 3 robbers robbing an elderly man. Kenshi condemns their conduct, but the bandits only reply by cursing him. When the robbers demand that he pay a toll to keep his life, Kenshi tosses a half-eaten apple at them, telling them that this is their toll. The robbers, enraged, come at him with their swords ready. Kenshi answers with lightning speed, drawing his own sword and slaying all 3 robbers with a single hit. Later that night, Kenshi is eating dinner with the old man he saved and offers to compensate him in exchange for feeding him, but the old man claims that he is owed to Kenshi because he saved his life. The old guy discloses that he is a mystic and promises to teach Kenshi about something that would benefit him. The old man tells Kenshi about the Sento sword, which is reputed to be capable of slaying any foe. Shao Kahn constructed the sword and sealed it in a mountain cave to be safeguarded by the demon Ermac, who eats the souls of each warrior who tries to claim it. Kenshi is first amused by the narrative, referring to it as a fairy tale similar to those his grandpa used to tell him, but when the old man reveals that he knows Kenshi's identity without the warrior ever telling him, Kenshi begins to believe him and inquires about the whereabouts of the sword. The following morning, Kenshi walks to the mountain where the sword is reported to be hidden and discovers numerous long rotten skeletons outside the cave. Kenshi enters the tunnel and finds several victims and the sword embedded in a cave wall. As he approaches the blade, a demonic voice taunts him, stating that they have been waiting for a good opponent and that no one has ever left the cave alive. The demonic Ermac refers to itself as many, but Kenshi is just one, to which Kenshi responds, "But you are not me." As Ermac strikes, he spins around, sword drawn. The cave bursts, and when Kenshi staggers out, his eyes are filled with blood, and the Ronin is shocked to realize he's been blinded. Despite his blindness, Kenshi claimed the Sento sword that day. Between the significant events of the series, Kenshi is approached by Raiden and decides to participate in the Mortal Kombat tournament for Earthrealm. Several years later, Raiden summons Kenshi to the Mortal Kombat Tournament Island, with Kenshi being the last to teleport onto the island. That night, Kenshi remarks that the island sounds like death. Raiden explains that the island formerly harbored a long-dead civilization, serving as a reminder of what is at stake. Raiden also says that their latent supernatural talents would be increased on the island and that Kenshi's trained senses would become superhuman. When the tournament begins, Kenshi travels deeper into the island and arrives at a clearing after a long meditation. Ermac's voice cries out to him once more, stating that it will reclaim the Sento sword from Kenshi, taunting him that it has learned a lot since it removed his eyes. Kenshi grimly growls that he has as well and challenges Ermac to a battle. Throughout the encounter, Kenshi and Ermac are relatively well matched. Despite losing the Sento, Kenshi can overpower Ermac with his hand-to-hand skills before discovering telekinetic powers identical to Ermac's. Ermac looks to have the advantage when he telekinetically strangles Kenshi and then binds him with scaled tentacles, further strangling him. But Kenshi uses his telekinesis to draw Sento back to his hand and frees himself, hurling the sword and impaling Ermac through the heart. Kenshi kills Ermac with one final telekinetic pulse, giving Earthrealm its first tournament triumph. What makes Kenshi Takahashi such a deadly warrior? Despite his blindness, Kenshi has enhanced senses that allow him to fight on par with any other combatant. He can detect an opponent's existence through their energy or hearing and catching opponents off guard. Kenshi holds an ancestral sword containing the spirits of warrior kings from his dynasty, and he is directed to fight by these spirits. His vision is shown to be spiritual, allowing him to detect the spirits of living beings. His senses are so strong that he can see individuals capable of concealing themselves from highly trained assassins like Sub-Zero, as well as beings locked in items like Shinnok, who was trapped in his own amulet that connects to a dark dimension. He is also totally resistant to strikes that target his sense of sight due to his blindness. Kenshi is also well versed in telekinesis, which he regularly employs to move items and people without directly touching them. His telekinetic assaults enable him to push, pull, and lift most objects with a single hand movement. He can also teleport and levitate, boosting his mobility even further. Melina and others have described him as possessing psychic skills in addition to his telekinetic abilities. abilities. The blind swordsman has also demonstrated various mentalist abilities over the years. Like telepathy, he can release energy waves from his thoughts that may immobilize adversaries, locking them in place and preventing their movements, leaving them vulnerable to assault. Kenshi has demonstrated several abilities that are helpful outside of physical combat, such as the transmission of thoughts and reading minds, seeing future visions in his dreams, removing mind manipulation effects on others, generating portals with an invocation, and being able to overload one's senses, resulting in a knockout. Kenshi's fighting technique has been enhanced in Mortal Kombat 2011, with him heavily employing telekinesis to handle his sword, while he still needs his hands to grasp it on occasion. His sword can reflect bullets to his opponents and absorb projectiles to refresh his health. He can also use his telekinesis to create a corporal projection of himself and attack opponents from a distance, much like Noob Saibot. In Mortal Kombat X, one of Kenshi's variants, Possessed, contains a broken cento, through which he may call a demon with a massive sickle, and Quan Dao, who fights for Kenshi under his command. Most of Kenshi's signature moves are based on his impressive telekinesis manipulation skill set, like telekinetic toss, push, and slam. Out of all the fatalities over the years, our favorite Kenshi fatality is called telekinetic contortion, where Kenshi sends crippling mental energy waves at his opponent. The opponent's body is immediately bent in an abnormal direction by the waves, starting with the arms, legs, and finally the head. After the last crunch, the opponent is briefly hung in the air before collapsing to the ground as a blind, confused mess. Marvelous verdict. With all the Mortal Kombat fans already familiar with the main characters like Raiden, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Johnny Cage, etc., it will be wise if the creators decide to explore more of Kenshi. Though he was not a part of the playable character list in the last game, he had some significance in the narrative, and according to sources, he will be featured in the next game and the next animated movie after Snowblind, where we see him in a pivotal role. The creators have a huge opportunity to resurrect this character by showcasing him in a more central role rather than letting him be a supporting character like before. If you like our content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Thank you so very much. Have a good one, and please be safe.